Coming to you live from sunny California. Hi, I'm Greg Clagle. I'm with my two buddies, Mark Skinner. Where are you, Mark? And Kenneth Nelson. And this is our journey through photography. And we get together. We've had differing levels of experience in the professional and fine art fields. And for years. We went to school a long time ago. Oh my God, if we told you, you'd be like, dang, those guys are old. But we still love photography and we still do photography. I'm in sunny California, as you can tell. And these two gentlemen are in Nueva York, the center of the universe. And today is going to be my topic. I'm going to be talking about just hit me with your best shot. What are you working on now? Um, what do you like to shoot? And not your best of all time. Let's just get that straight. Something that you're working on now, something that you're pleased with, and it's your best shot, what you want to present today. So, without further ado, because I want to get in that ocean over there, we got Mark. Mark Skinner's up first. Mark, what you got? Hit me with your best shot.
All right, Greg. The first one, the one I'm showing you is my photograph of Evans Chibet at the 2022 New York Marathon. This was at mile 14. He was running with a pack of leaders, but Evans Chibet actually won the marathon about an hour after the photo was taken. And then he went on to win the Boston Marathon the next year. There's a good chance he'll win the New York Marathon again. It's my best photograph because it is purely photographic. It doesn't include a set. It doesn't include retouching. All I did was crop. Retouching. I did dodge a little bit in one area of the photo, but that's really about it. Otherwise, it's a purely photographic image, lens and image and just a sensor, and that's it. And, I just took the photograph as the group passed. So I'd say it's my best photo because it's purely photographic. He looked right at me. It's something that the winner of a race doesn't tend to do, look directly into the lens of a photographer. And so that's really it.
So why do you say it's a purely photographic image? What does that mean?
It's purely photographic, meaning there's no artifice. There's no image. I haven't removed any elements of the photograph. I haven't added any elements of the photograph. I haven't changed the color of anything. I mean, the sneakers that are orange are not really green or anything like that. So it's purely photo. It's just optics and a sensor. And then in the post-production, I converted the raw file to a JPEG, and then I cropped a smidgen on the right, and then that was it. And that's it. It's just purely just you focus and take the picture. That's it. And it's one of a series of about 5 or 6 from that sequence. I picked maybe the 3rd or 4th one. He wasn't looking at me initially, but I guess as he heard the motor drive sound, he looked my way because I was the only photographer in that position. And then I got my photograph.
Was it that loud? What kind of motor drive are you talking? What was it? Like a lawnmower?
No, it's that little teeny tiny Leica that I talk about a lot. I didn't bring a bigger camera with me because I have photographed the marathon with a much larger DSLR with a 70-200 lens, a 300 lens, and that wasn't what I wanted to do. I really kind of wanted to test the little camera, and I got like it's like somewhere between 7 and 10 frames per second, and it really did perform very well for what it was. I mean, the 2 shortcomings of that camera, if you call them shortcomings, but you have to change the battery a little bit more frequently than you would with a DSLR, and then also there's only one card slot. So if the card fails, you do lose some images. But other than that, I like that camera tremendous. It's a good walking daily driver, and it's not as expensive as some other cameras, and it's very versatile. So that's really it.
But you meant to be out there. It has.
Oh yeah, I mean it has a silent mode, but I elected not to use the silent mode because I wanted to kind of hear audibly how many frames I exposed. And so, because we come from film and I used to use a motor drive. So, when you hit you can kind of get, all right, 4 or 5. And I didn't want to find myself with the silent mode. I could sit on the button and I could hit 20 frames that I didn't want to hit. Not that it really costs anything to do that, but I just wanted to have that sense of exposing images, collecting images the way I did when it was a film. It was purely a test to go do this marathon. It wasn't an assignment. And oddly enough, I got one of the best sort of live photos of my career. Is it at the finish line? No, but there were scores of photographers at the finish line, so it's not, but I'm pretty sure I'm one of the few people who may have had the winner of that race look directly into the camera while they were racing.
You just like the sound of the motor, right? Like a little kid.
Oh, I loved it when I was a kid, but yeah, like I said, it's very fun. It's a fun camera, and like I said, there was no pressure. It was purely a photographic trip just to see what I got, and with that camera, and that was it. I'm very glad I did.
For you, because you're mostly a studio guy, but it's good to see you out there.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm mostly a studio guy, and you guys probably would have figured, well, my best photo is this photograph of a model or a pageant winner or some cosmetic or something. But there's room to change all of that. So if I say it's my best photograph, some studio photograph, you can kind of go, well, maybe you should have added a light here or took a light away from there. But with the live images, one of the things that's very interesting is that you don't control it. So it's purely about capturing, as you like to say, the decisive moment, as Cartier-Bresson likes to say. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, you took my advice out there and did some shooting. That's a good thing.
Yeah, well, I've been doing a lot of that recently, quite honestly. So I gotta get some more studio stuff done soon.
Can't wait to see more of it. Anything you got, Kenny? You got anything on Mark shot, or are we good? Can we move right along?
Yeah, we can move right along. I really don't have anything to add to that.
All right. Next up, for Hit Me With Your Best Shot, just something that you're working on lately, because we're not doing the retrospective yet. That'll come soon enough. Hopefully not, because I want to keep shooting for a long time to come. But what have you got, Kenny? Hit me with your best shot.
Okay. Well, I'm going to reference this photo.
Nice.
And of course we're 3 years into 3 years almost to the date. 3 years just past the date of the murder of George Floyd, and I just thought that that whole year and a half that I spent recording and documenting the stories behind the rallies and protests was kind of important. And this one is one of my favorite images from the whole 2 years in terms of, because it speaks to not only the efforts, but the myriad of people who were involved in executing the stories behind the rallies and the protests. So
very cool shot, very graphic, very powerful. Look at the strength of these men in the from shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm. That's a really cool shot, Ken. I haven't seen this one before.
It's actually located on my website if you go there under the Black Lives Matter series. So it's up there.
You work too often, man. Powerful stuff. What is your website? What's your website address so folks can check you out? Really good work there.
Yeah, KennethNelsonPhotography.com.
Okay, no spaces, no dashes.
No spaces, no dashes.
Okay, cool. Check it out. Don't be sure to do that. You're in for a treat. Ken has some.
That is so true.
Let's see. Yeah. So, anything else, Ken? I mean, the way you compose it too, with the signs between the guys, and you can really feel the strength through the adversity. I have the Greek on the side, Alpha.
Yeah, it was not. It was some of my first experiences in terms of trying to capture moving subjects and moving along with them, because this was the front line of a march, and they were moving at a good pace.
They were marching while you were shooting it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so what I had to do was I had to run up farther enough so that way, as they're moving toward me, I can get closer and closer and frame as they're getting closer, and then again run forward again and then come back again. So adjusting the tightness in the framing as they moved closer.
Of course. Yeah. Well done. Nice stuff, man.
I agree.
And if anybody's interested, these works are for sale.
So let me ask you a question. You know, right now there's another controversial, unfortunate strangling of an African American man in our town here in New York, and the protesting was much more confined to certain areas. Having participated in a lot of the George Floyd murder protests that you were involved in, having photographed, I should say. How do you feel now, you know, seeing what you see of the scale of the protests that are going on?
Can you give me more information as to what you're looking for?
Compared to before, when everyone was, you know, home trying to hide from the COVID virus.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a call to action for so many, and there were people in every city in the nation practically, and certainly worldwide. It was a worldwide phenomenon. You know, when you have a circumstance that's similar 3 years later, like you said, almost to the day, where, you know, once again, there's someone that's strangled, and, you know, what do you think about now? Because it was such an important movement that you really documented. You know, what do you think now in terms of the difference between how protests are going on now and then just 3 short years ago?
I think like you said, one of the major differences that it was during a pandemic, so people were not working, people were home, and you didn't have the challenge of earning a living. Now people have a challenge of earning a living, so therefore the amount of time they have to dedicate to protest marching and stuff like that is pretty different than it was in 2020. So I think that's the major factor. I don't think that there's less sympathy for what's going on with the strangulation that happened. I just think that the amount of time people have to commit to the protest marches and stuff like that has just dwindled because they're now working, and they have to keep that roof over their head.
And all that people are trying to make up for the time they lost during the pandemic.
Yeah.
After the protests, and they were still unable to do what they needed to do. So. Yeah. So fortunately, self-interest has kind of come into play.
Yeah, we're kind of majorly different. You know, the abuse of power, to have a policeman do that as opposed to, you know, another citizen on the train. That, you know, the circumstances were different.
Yeah,
sure.
It was global. There were protests all around the world. That was something, man.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that is now magnified every circumstance similar to anyone who's of color being killed in a certain way that is even minimally unjustified, not even necessarily as unjustified as that killing was.
Right, the excessive force.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I would definitely say that is one of your best shots, Ken. And thanks.
I would agree. It's very good. Very good.
I like the strength through adversity. That's what really strikes me about that image.
Well, you know what else is really interesting about your photograph that I find very rewarding when I look at it? One of the things that is controversial in the African American community is that all of the major protesting and the activism here in this time is primarily led by African American women. And so when you have a photograph of 3 African American men. I'm presuming they're African American men, or 3 men, I should just say, protesting on behalf of another an African American. It shows that there are concerned African American men or men of color, and it isn't just, although, to be honest, most of the civil rights activity now is done by African American women, but it shows that in some ways they're not alone, and that's really nice to see.
Yeah.
Very. Boy, that was a run-on sentence from me.
Actually, I should have punctuated it more. It was actually several sentences, but.
Anything else on that shot? This is a really cool shot. Thanks for sharing that, Ken.
Thank you.
All right. If not, we'll just move right along. Now, hit me with your best shot, Greg. Well, this is not my best shot, but it's a shot that I enjoy, recently. Just did nothing but, add some texture to the image, contrast, and slight adjustments. But, shooting for the sun, I just get a kick out of, having a theater background. I like the drama in drama to photography.
Is that Green Arrow? Because that's not Hawkeye.
No, I think you have to go further back in time for this one, Mark. Way back.
Okay.
It's actually a representation of a Tartar, because I know how literal you can be. The famed marauders of the I don't want to say Gobi Desert, but the Eastern Asian desert, or the Western Asian deserts and thereabouts. You can look up the Tartars for that reference. But I was just getting a kick out of the sculpture and the way it was, the parts that were left in and the parts that were left out, and the drama and the stretch and the strength that's represented and captured in the sculpture. And shooting for the sun, always reach for the best in everything, and thematically, shooting.
It looks like he's got a glob of molten glass on the business end of that quiver. It looks like whoever gets hit with that will get hit with a punch bowl at the end once it wraps around their face, cools off.
There's much to unwrap on a top level. I mean, if you just look at it literally as it is, you're just have this figure shooting at the sun with an arrow, and maybe in that time someone would have perceived that the arrow would have reached the sun, but we know that there's no way in hell an arrow is going to reach the sun. But at that point in time, maybe there was. So again, a flat Earth thing and stuff like that, whatever was going on in a period of time prior. Now, again, I don't know if this is Greek, the period of Greek and Roman, or what have you, but that's where I go with it.
Well, he's got. In all honesty, it's a really great stock photo. I think it's really serviceable, and I think it's really cool. The only thing I'd say is that doesn't look like he's shooting at the sun as much as he's shooting the sun somewhere. It looks like the fiery ball at the end of at the tip of the arrow is part of the arrow.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think the level of and the amount of clouds is definitely very. I can't describe it. It's just unearthly. I'll say it like that.
I think it's a great capture. It's fantastic. I love it. I have one question though. The dot, there's a white dot down by his hips.
Yes, that's
what
from the sun.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
That's the lens flare.
Yeah. Okay.
I see.
Got it. And I think the intensity of the blue is pretty intense, man. Wow.
I agree.
Yeah, I added a little bit of that.
And what's kind of interesting is that right now you have some blue behind you, so the reference between what we're seeing on that screen and what we're seeing on the screen as we look at you and the clouds behind you. It's a nice relationship, bringing them both together. So
hey, wait a minute. Did you just get your best photograph like an hour and a half ago? That's that old adage that my best photograph is. Hold on one second. That was it.
You know,
Right.
okay. Now that you brought that up, let's speak on that for a minute.
What?
Is your best photograph the one you have yet to take? Really?
Uh,
Really?
Well, some people believe that. Sometimes your best photograph is the last one you just took. So it's up to the person shooting and the person viewing. Because there's always and somebody say, his work has changed. I really liked when he was shooting, I don't know, Coney Island House. I don't know.
Okay, all right. I won't belabor it, but I just think I think it's a cop out.
Well,
Anyone who subscribed to that idea is a cop out.
I remember when I was photographing models every week for their composites. It's more like Don Quixote days. It was sort of like every time I had to photograph someone, I was chasing after some impossible photograph that I was never going to get because, it was really a photograph that was for them. If I'm photographing at the Javits Center, I'm not going to get that beautiful shoreline that you have behind you. So it was like, I'm like, oh, wait, if we go to the Esplanade down by the Brooklyn Bridge, maybe I can get waterline there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I think using that terminology, saying your best shot you've ever taken is the one you have yet to take, is to actually keep you shooting, and not necessarily believing that that's the case, but it keeps you going forward and continue to photograph. And it probably helps your enthusiasm to keep going, because I would say that if you were to say that your best shot is the one you took last year, then and what motivates you to go forward? If you have a love of photography, it doesn't matter. You continue to go forward. But if you're chasing something, then I think that's the question.
But we talked about this part a little bit before. I mean, there are photographers who they get one photograph, they're known for that photograph, and like nothing ever, resonates with the viewing public more than that one photograph. Oh gosh, was it? I don't want to ruin his name, but the guy who did the Afghan girl, he will always be associated with the Afghan girl photograph.
Stephen McCurry.
Unless he's in the middle of one of those fires in California, that there's not, what I mean? There's nothing that's going to really resonate as much as that for everyone. It's photographs have a time and a place. And, even though I say that, well, the Evans Chibet photo is my best photo, that's from my assessment right now. And as I said, I could go through some studio stuff that I've done and say, that one's probably the best photo I'm going to get for a while.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you don't keep trying. Like you said, you keep trying, and then sometimes you go, okay, that's really on point. This really was what I tried to achieve. I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I guess we'll have to explore that on Hit Me With Your Best Shot Studio Edition.
Gadzooks!
But is there anything else that we wanted to touch on? I mean, I'll say it, and I'll keep on saying it. Just keep on shooting. Yeah, you may get some great stuff, but what's next? What else? Try something different. Try some studio. Try, doing mixed light. Try some painting with light. There's just so much that you can explore with photography. And if, how they say, there's no such thing as being bored. It's just bored people. So you got to get out there and shoot. There's always something else that you can try. That's all I got.
I got to ask you, are you in Santa Monica right now?
I am actually, this is Venice-ish.
So you're near Muscle Beach, is that it? Or?
Yeah, right up there. Beach is right up that way.
So do they still sell blue blockers there? That was a big 90s thing. We see the commercials all the time here at Venice Beach with those guys. Remember this guy named Big Geek? He would sell blue blockers. You remember those?
All that stuff is like, you do something and you're on the internet. It's always going to be around.
Well,
So,
I don't think that gentleman will be ever as big as he was when that's
cares?
kind of.
Who cares?
Well,
Well,
but it goes to the idea that, I'm sure he felt he had a lot more going on after that, but unfortunately for him, that was really it.
Who cares?
Well, it goes along with what we're saying.
What?
Well, let me ask you: is there a photo that you've taken in your past that you say, you know what, that's really good, and the next one may not be as good as that, even though you're trying to get one that's better?
Well, yes and no. I mean, of course, you're going to like some pictures better than others, but then also, it's like what's around the corner. Sometimes without trying, you'll stumble onto something where just the elements just fall into place. The sky is right, the lighting is soft or bright, the shadow is right. You have to be out there to get the shot. That's why I was really happy that you went out and did some near photojournalistic work out there, and you were rewarded by having this world-class athlete just happen to take a glance at you while you're taking a picture. Things like that happen when you put yourself out there. I'm really, really happy with that. So, if there's nothing else, I'm down to 10% on my battery, and I'm ready to get on the beach. So, you guys got anything else? But hit me with your best shot until we do part two.
Please tell me you're not planning on having a dramatic exit by putting the camera on putting the phone on a tripod, waving and stripping as you run to the shore to the ocean.
And what if I did? Stop hating. Stop hating.
Well, then I'd be forced to do this.
Yeah, Greg. We can end this now.
Okay. Just say, hey, if you really want to enjoy this, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so that you're notified when we post another episode of A Journey Through Photography. If you have any questions, throw us a topic. We'd be happy to talk about it. Or not. So that's it for me.
I think we'll talk about it.
Of course we will. And that's Marc.
Or not.
And that's Ken Nelson. Ciao for now. Keep shooting.